RT is sitting down with author, former governor of the state of Minnesota, former actor, radio and TV host, a man of many titles and a wild biography, and a controversial public figure in the United States, Mr. Jesse Ventura. Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
My first question to you is your new book, American Conspiracies, Lies, Lies, and Dirty Lies That the Government Tells Us, has just been released. Why is it important for people to read it?
There are many of us that don't believe the status quo of what we've been told on many of these events. You know, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the assassination of Martin Luther King. And there's many of us that just simply don't buy what we've been told happens 100 years from now. I want people to be able to look back at this time and era and realize that these things were not slam dunks, that there was dissension in the belief on this, and that the documents were real, and that the book was based upon those documents to show that quite possibly we were deceived and lied to about these events for political purposes or whatever it might be.
You've had your share of pretty explosive encounters with the mainstream media in America, and you've accused the media of covering up government lies. Where do you stand now? How much can the mainstream media in America be trusted?
I don't think much at all. They're a soundbite news now, if you get what I mean, soundbite. There's no depth to anything. Plus, our major news organizations have really almost become monopolized. There's only like 3. Our media today is into creating the news rather than reporting it. And that's very dangerous when they're creating news rather than reporting it.
When you appear on the mainstream media, how much do you expect your voice to be heard?
Oh, I expect it to be heard very much, because far too many people in this country only rely on the mainstream media for any information. But, you know, the internet is getting super powerful now, and that'll be next. See, that's what the government has to control next, is the internet. Whenever government says they're going to keep you safe, get ready, because you're going to lose your freedoms.
To what extent do you think the government is doing this now? How much do you think Big Brother is watching the American people?
Oh, unbelievable. I went to a street corner in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and on that street corner, there wasn't one camera, there was 4 of them, one on each corner, watching everybody. You go through the city of New York now, all these cities throughout the country, we're being watched by cameras. What's it for? Our safety. Credit cards now are getting microchips in them so they can track you. They build our cars now with this North Star thing, so a satellite can track you anywhere in the country and know where you're driving. We're being watched more than any time in history of the United States of America right now.
You're often accused of scandalizing the events of 9/11. Can you sum up your position for us, and what do you say to those people who don't agree with what you say?
Scandalize it? All I do is ask questions. In this country, has it gotten, and that's what bugs me about 9/11. 9/11's an event you're not allowed to ask a question about.
Why do you think this topic is off limit?
Because clearly they don't want any questions on it. You know, right away, if you question what they told you about 9/11, they throw onto you you're unpatriotic. Well, I don't fear that. I dare someone to question my family's patriotism to this country.
Your article on September 11th appeared on the front page of the news website, the Huffington Post, only to promptly be removed. What do you think that was? Why did that happen? Fear? Censorship?
Yeah. I can't believe the Huffington Post today will practice censorship. They asked me to be a contributing editor, and they said, write about anything you want. So it was the second time I did something. And they removed it. Well, I got news for them. I won't ever write for them again. And I know Ms. Huffington's always asking me, oh, you got to write for my paper. You got to write for it. Well, I got news for her. She just got her last article. I won't do a thing with the Huffington Post because I don't like it when people censor what I have to say.
Was this the first time you were faced with this kind of censorship, and have you actually gotten some kind of explanation as to why your article was removed?
They said that they don't do conspiracies. It was that simple. We don't do conspiracies, basically.
They had no idea you would be writing about 9/11?
I don't know. I don't know about that. They just told me to write about, you know, we'd want you to write for the Huffington Post about any topics you want. So have I been censored before? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Usually they'll simply ignore you. Like Fox News, the three big boys at night, Hannity, O'Reilly, and Beck. I now refer to them as the Three Stooges, because I couldn't, with this book, I wasn't invited on to any of their shows.
You've been on their shows quite a few times before.
Well, I've only been on Hannity's. O'Reilly will never have me on because he can't bully me, and he knows it.
Would you dare O'Reilly to interview you?
Oh, absolutely. I would dare Bill O'Reilly to interview me. In fact, I would say, Bill, show the world you have some courage, and talk to someone who won't kowtow to you.
Let me go back to 9/11. I want to ask you why you think it is that when a person tends to question the events of September 11th in the United States, they're often attacked and called a conspiracy theorist, a domestic terrorist, and so on.
Well, because it obviously means that the power structure doesn't want any questions.
What about Barack Obama? He promised transparency, accountability. We have thousands of people 10 years after September 11th wanting a new investigation. Do you think that investigation will ever take place?
Mm-mm.
Why not?
Because they're not going to let it. Because it shows me a bit of guilt. If it's what they told us happened, why wouldn't they welcome another investigation? That would put all of us to bed, wouldn't it? It would shut us all up, wouldn't it? If they agreed to do a real investigation and what they told us was real, well, then that would destroy all of us and we could all then go about our business and never deal with it again.
You do believe that 9/11 was an inside job?
I believe that they either took part in it or they certainly knew it was going to happen and allowed it to. And to me, both are as bad as each other.
Who is they, Bush and Cheney?
Yeah, the administration.
What would you say to George Bush now if you ran into him on the street?
What would I say to him? I would tell George Bush, Mr. Bush, how did you get an honorable discharge from the military, considering that your military service, if I would have behaved in that manner, there was no way that I would have got an honorable discharge. I would have got at best a general discharge, and you have now cheapened my discharge because of your behavior in the National Guard. That's what I'd say to him. I wouldn't even bring up 9/11. I'd get him with that.
Now let me ask you about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. I want to know how you see the way Barack Obama has been handling these wars, and can you grade him for us?
When he campaigned, he promised that he would withdraw us from these wars, and the opposite's happening.
Are you saying he shouldn't have done it? He shouldn't have sent more troops to Afghanistan?
I don't believe he should have. What have we actually accomplished? I don't know.
What about grading Obama? Has he been doing a good job?
A C. A C. He started off with, there was so much hope for change, and then he named it as his administration, and it was nothing but the old Democratic Guard again. They're not change. If he would have got new people in there and got people that haven't been there 25, 30 years, that would have been change. The reality was, we'll fool them again. We'll tell them there's going to be change. They'll all vote for change, but it'll still be the old status quo when we get down to it.
Now, in numerous interviews, you've said that the U.S. government is always looking for an enemy. Who is the enemy now?
Well, there's two enemies. The enemy, of course, is terrorism, which I think there is terrorists without a doubt, but I think that they blow it up much bigger than it is. Here's the question I'd like to ask back to you, and it ties. Why do we have to spend literally almost half of our entire federal budget on defense? Who is it that is going to get us that we need to spend that kind of money to defend ourselves? And if we do have to spend that kind of money to defend ourselves, what have we done to make people want to attack us so bad that we have to defend ourselves?
So what causes these huge spendings? Is it fear?
No, I think it's aggression. I think it's us going out. I believe that our military now is the strong arm of corporate America. That when corporate America can't go out and do it in the business world, well, then we'll send the military to get the job done in the military world.
Let's go back to your book for a little bit.
Sure.
One of the issues you raise is the question of whether or not the bailout of corporations in the U.S. was the biggest conspiracy of all. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, it just seemed to me that they were creating a monopoly. They let Lehman Brothers fall under the truck and they saved Goldman Sachs. Well, government shouldn't pick winners or losers. Government should be fair to everyone.
You think anyone is going to be bailing out the common American, not the corporations?
I did. When I was governor of Minnesota, we had 3 budget surpluses, and I gave the money back to the people in the form of a check. Everybody in Minnesota got checks. They used to call them Jesse checks when I was governor. I had one old woman name her lawnmower after me. She needed a lawnmower. She used that money to get it, and she now calls her lawnmower Jesse.
But on a federal level, where do you think the U.S. economy is headed right now? Where is the government taking?
It's headed horrible. What I'd like to know is this. Apparently Greece came over here and wanted us to give them foreign aid or something. How can we give anyone foreign aid when we're so far in debt? It's nothing but the United States government buying influence. It's bribery money. It's done to get people to do what we want them to do. We buy them off. That's the true American way, according to them. Buy them off.
I want to ask you about the New World Order, the talk of this global elite stretching out their hands across the world. True or false?
I'm starting to think true. They're going to use global warming to achieve it. What they're doing with global warming, and here's what I don't like, we now pay local taxes, we pay state taxes, we pay federal taxes, and if this goes through, we'll be paying a world tax. Well, the minute this world group of global warming starts making money, well, then they're going to expand. With money, government grows. This is something that may be real, but the guys that are trying to fix it aren't trying to fix it. They're simply trying to become wealthy off it.
Are you considering running for presidency in 2 years?
No.
So what's next on your political agenda?
Political? Nothing.
Nothing? You're done with politics?
For right now, I mean, I never say never, but right now, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to become the most prolific surfer I can.
Good for you. Good luck with that. Mr. Jesse Ventura, thank you very much.
Thank you. And you want to know, when I
us.
live in Mexico, I'll give you one last one. People often ask me, what do you do down in Mexico? And I'll tell you what I do. Every day in Mexico, I wake up with nothing to do. And when I go to bed that night, I'm half done.
Dream life. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.